Hey everyone, so it looks like my little model's been quite popular over the last couple of days, so I thought I'd take this opportunity to do a little video and just show you around the model and answer a few questions that people have had on Twitter. So I'll start off by just showing you around. So as you can see, it is real, it does exist, it's not a 3D render. You can see all the different elements that have gone into making the map. I'm not saying it's 100% accurate. I have taken a little bit of creative license in areas. I've kind of enlarged some of the models just to try and make them stand out a little bit better. But I hope you'll see that I've kind of tried to capture at least the core elements that kind of make up the map. So I think the biggest thing that people, or misconception out of the gate, is people seem to think that this whole thing's been 3D printed as one big model, but that's not the case. So if you look into the model, then yes, all these kind of little elements, all the trees, all the detail pieces, these have all been printed, including like the little logs, the castles and stars and whatnot. So these have all been 3D printed, but they've been printed kind of individually, and they've all been kind of then hand painted or spray painted. But then the layers themselves, all the kind of landscaping, these are all either, well, these are a mix of MDF. So these kind of top layers that you can see, how everything's got a top, these are all 3mm MDF. But then the bottom pieces, these are all actually made out of model making polystyrene or model foam. And then it's been kind of roughed up around the edges just to give it this kind of rock-like texture. And then in terms of how I got those, or kind of designed these layers themselves, so like I said, these are all MDF, the top pieces, and they've been done on a laser cutter. So what I did initially then was plan this out in an application called Inkscape. So I laid out all the different areas, tried to kind of convert the map graphic into a top-down elevation type view, and just laid out all the key elements, so all the core kind of castles and the trees, where do they need to sit, and make sure that kind of works. But once I got all that kind of figured out and laid out, then those tops were those tops were laser cut, so the MDF tops were cut, and then these were used as templates using stuck on top of some kind of model making foam, and then I used a hot wire cutter and used the MDF as a template to cut the bases out. So those are actually kind of different technology than a lot of people seem to think, and unfortunately no, it's not cake. It is foam, so sorry, it's not edible. But yeah, once I had those pieces, then I made and designed and modelled all the kind of model elements that need to go on there. And again, I'm not a kind of a modelling expert, so for all the models I actually used an online service called Tinkercad. It's really simple. It deals predominantly with kind of primitive shapes. But like I say, I'm not an expert, so it really kind of suited my skills quite well. And plus the fact that I'm doing quite low poly stuff, it worked out pretty well. I do have a 3D printer, so I could have printed these myself, but you can see the quality of them. They're really clean, and that's just a quality that I can't get from my home 3D printer. So I in fact sent those off to be printed professionally using an online service called 3D Hubs. And that's really good because you can just upload your STL files and they will print them using kind of professional quality 3D printers. So for example, this is kind of an example of what the Bowser Island area would look like, or that it came back from, and it's printed in resin, and you can tell that there's no lines or anything on there. It's really clean, really sharp, and that's exactly what I was looking for. So those were all sent off, came back along those lines, that grey colour, and then everything was just kind of spray painted or hand painted to get that kind of bright colour scheme. I'm just trying to match it as close as possible. It's a mixture of kind of acrylic spray paints and then a lot of hand painting as well, just using traditional kind of acrylic paints, and then all sealed with a sealer so that it doesn't kind of rub off. But yeah, that's everything. So those are all the different models. That's how it's kind of been constructed, and here you can see all the different elements that make up the model. So I'd just like to thank everybody who has shared and liked and whatnot my tweet that I made. I wasn't expecting it to go as kind of viral or as popular as it has, but it's really cool to see people liking and sharing it, and even more so people sharing the stories of playing the game when they were kids. So it's nice to kind of, I like to reminisce with a bit of nostalgia about these things, so it's cool to hear people's stories doing the same. So yeah, thank you for everybody who has shared and liked, and I hope you like the video.